Hey there, welcome back to Podcast and Amplify. Today I have a really great guest who's going to talk to us about money, finances. I know on the show we've done a few episodes around that topic. I think we've done one on money management, one on debt, being debt free, but money and finances is such a broad topic that I think we could probably do so many different shows around that topic. But I'm excited to have our guest, Laura Cañafranca, on the show because she is an accredited financial counselor Canada. Is that an AFCC?
AFCC, yeah. So I studied specifically Canadian
Got it.
finances, but I also have the American under my belt too. But it's just special to be Canada.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. And so she really helps people who have variable incomes, which really made me feel like she'd be a good fit for everyone listening here because a lot of people who listen are entrepreneurs, and she helps people with variable income cultivate a relationship with money that's rooted in security, gratitude, and choice. She uses a judgment-free space to assist clients in letting the shame of their money stories go and step into their financial power. And so I really wanted to have a conversation with Lauren about how to remove the shame from our money and our finances and really get connected to our goals. And I know that's what she is an expert at talking about. So, Lauren, thank you for coming onto the show and welcome.
Oh, thank you. It's my pleasure. I'm excited to chat about it.
So, can you start off by telling us about a pivotal moment that has led you to where you're at today, maybe in your business, your life, whatever you want to share with us?
Yeah, I previously to this, I was a massage therapist for a decade, and I still do that part time because I have cultivated this clientele that I just love to see. And I'm married to my partner who has a restaurant, and we were going along building our family, and our I was pregnant with our third child, and I finally took the blinders off of our finances, both being self-employed, and we looked at our debt, and we had $100,000 of debt, and we didn't have a house. That's not a mortgage. That was like cars and student loans and credit cards and the money that we had to spend to get where we were. And we were in our best financial year ever, like our best income year. And we could not afford this baby that was coming. And I couldn't unsee what I saw. And then I went into the personal finance world to try to get help. And I was met with shame and judgment. And obviously, and so I drank some of that Kool-Aid and turned that criticism inward and did this like really intensive 18-month period where I was tracking everything and I was so stressed out. I had a newborn baby. It was like the most stressful time of my life. And I said, like, there has to be a better way to do this. And just as I was doing that, the pandemic hit and we were having a real crisis now. And again, the personal finance world had a I told you so attitude. And I felt so defeated and I thought I have to be able to approach money in a way that's gentler. And so like anybody who struggles with vulnerability, I decided to just become the thing that I needed. And I found the AFCPE and I had looked at the credential earlier at the beginning of my journey and just was like, oh, I'll just do this budget thing. And it seemed simpler. And I returned to it during the pandemic and thought I have to study this and understand this and come from a heart-centered place so that people who were feeling how I was feeling could have some place to go where that wasn't the case. And I think that's really growing. Certainly now, years later, there seems to be a momentum of moving toward a more compassionate energy around money And I'm so excited to see it because it's exactly what I needed 7 years ago.
I don't think you hear a lot of people use the term heart-centered and finances or debt like in the same breath in the same sentence. I think they don't really seem to go hand in hand. And it's really odd that I think, at least in the States, we have this culture of take on debt, but also be ashamed if you're in debt. And
Hmm.
it's this really odd reality to live in. And so I totally hear what you're saying in terms of that pressure of, yeah, you have to take account of everything and every little cent. And if you're not doing that and spending your energy, which takes a ton of that, then you're just doing it all wrong. And so what are some of the ways other than being taught, I guess, these really, I don't know, they feel like strict systems. And
Hmm.
even if we're even taught that, but what are some things that teach us to have shame around our money and our finances?
I think, though, like you mentioned, we live in a culture, and Canada is certainly a participant in that culture of expectation A, result B, no matter what, expectation B, result A, you're wrong. This bootstrap culture, do it yourself, but exist inside of a system that makes individualistic pursuits the ideal. And then when you get there, realizing just how lonely and unprepared you are as a human, not evolved to exist individually, where we've evolved to exist in community and in cooperation. And at the same time, we have this battle with status and who's on top and who's better and who's worse. And heaven forbid I be worse. So I'm going to turn my attention toward a different pursuit. And then we have the dichotomy of like that pull of wanting to share our resources and wanting to be in community. And so we end up sometimes harming ourselves individually in pursuit of supporting the group. And if we do that, and then we're left again, it's your own fault. You did it to yourself, even though your pursuits were to the good. It's a constant battle, and there's no way to really avoid shame around money in our culture because of that sort of eternal loop. Whether you have money or you don't have money or you got money, there's shame around it, especially if it's other than your family system. If you were raised within a really frugal system, if you were to spend money on something that your family doesn't value, then there's shame for that. And certainly we have different values than our family members, even though we talk about it so broadly, like our values. My values and my sister's values are wildly different. Sportsmanship does not make her list of values, but it's on mine. And so anything that's other is going to attach shame to it because of how we've evolved and because other is dangerous, right? We want to exist within the group, and somehow we have to exist individually like a chocolate chip cookie within the group. And so if you don't have money, then there's shame because we look out into the world and the world is telling us everybody has money. And if you just worked hard enough, you would have money too. When the Instagram pictures and videos are not painting a true picture of reality at all. It's not painting how much capital you had to start that business. It's not painting how much luck you had to be in the right place at the right time. And so there really, when you look to shame, similar, like you said, money is such a broad topic, shame is the same way. Me feeling bad, not, oh, I don't have the skill set for this. And I can't seem to look at this objectively and just identify what skills I'm missing because I don't know what they are. So instead, I am the one that is bad and it's my fault. And I could learn financial literacy, except financial literacy has so little to do with behavior change. Knowing better and doing better are not mutually exclusive. There's this big chasm between, and that's where shame exists.
Yeah, I love that. What you just pointed out, that financial literacy isn't the same as changing your habits and being able to do
Mhm.
that. There's this whole other layer right underneath that. You just reminded me of so many things as you were talking. The idea that we have in the States of the American dream. It's just like you should be able to make money just bootstrapping and from your own hard work. And it's such a myth, right? It's such a, doesn't account for privilege. It doesn't account for a lot of external factors that aren't within your control. Yeah, it sounds like it's a really convoluted system and convoluted system that we're living in. So it's challenging. And I think especially when you're talking about like the sort of the tribal aspect, right? Of okay, we have our bigger society and then we have our smaller society, and we just are trying to create safety, right? Safety for ourselves. That all makes a lot of sense. So for people right now, a lot of us have these non-traditional jobs. I know those are the type of clients that you love to work with. So when we have these non-traditional jobs that have unpredictable income, what are some helpful like shifts that we can make to help us think about money, how money's coming in, how we're managing it, or just maybe an overall mindset around money?
For those who have a variable income, and that means you're unable to predict what your income's going to be, it's determined by contract or hour or project. For those folks, the most important shift to make is to learn how to backcast your finances. We very often forecast, and traditional budgeting systems are around forecasting. It's saying my paycheck on the 24th is going to be this much money. These bills are due between the 24th and the 6th of the next month. And here's what I'm going to pay and what I'm going to do with each of those dollars that are coming. When you have a variable income, you might be able to estimate within a range what that looks like. And the trouble with that is sometimes that contract doesn't close. Sometimes those hours get cut. Sometimes you get sick and you can't work. Sometimes there's a bunch of aspects that you can't predict. And so to shift your relationship with money and not necessarily change, it's just a matter of altering your perspective. You want to only make a plan with the money that you have right now. And you need to get to a place where you can accumulate enough savings that you're dealing with last month's money as this month's events are occurring, so that you're not in a check to check, oh shoot, oh this contract will close, maybe Stripe will release my payment by this date. To get out of that, hopefully to be able to backcast. And that takes time to shift your perspective, but even if you focus on one item at a time. So for example, I often start with folks to think about their rent, something that gives them so much security and allow rest their head on their pillow knowing, okay, rent is covered. And so if you start just to save a little bit extra, you can play games like imagining that your rent is $200 more than it is, and just start to accumulate funds so that your rent can accumulate in the background. So when it comes to March, you know that April's rent is already in the bank and you can deal with the other things as they come. But that one thing, and then you move on to the next thing until you have a month's worth of like flow, so that you can start to backcast and go, okay, I have last month's money. How will it protect and provide for me this month while I make more money for the next month? So you're not living hand to mouth in that same way, and playing small in terms of choosing one category to create safety for yourself first is a really great way to start if it's really hard to break that check to check, if you're really just going through it. Other Another really important thing for variable earners and for anybody is to ensure that you don't spend out of the account that pays your bills, so that you're not looking at your bank account and doing mental gymnastics around, okay, I have rent due, the power bill is coming out, the water bill is going to come out. So now there's probably 600 bucks in there. I can probably, like, you're having to do all kinds of math. Separate your spending money from the money that you need to protect yourself. So I talk about money in terms of emotional and non-emotional. So make sure that you're not spending emotional money out of your non-emotional bucket. So using free banking, there's so many free banks and fee-free options and online options where you can create separation without creating a lot of cost. So those are the more like strategic ways to, as a variable earner, to try to give yourself a hand up. But those are the two most powerful shifts that I see when I work with clients.
I love that concept of back casting because then you're always ahead. At
Yeah.
least in your mind, and I guess literally too, but like you're always one step ahead instead of chasing, right? You can
Yeah.
sit back in that security of, oh yeah, I have this. And I love that prioritizing the thing that's going to make you feel the most safe.